What's your best I've made a huge mistake moment? I was constipated for a week once, so at work, I ate a whole box of Fiber One bars and drank a large hot coffee. I shat 7 or 8 times before lunch. One turd was pure black and I swear to God one had veins. I had developed a belly over the course of that week from the build-up, so my skin felt loose for a while afterwards. Also I could not stop farting, even after the turd storm ended. One fart was so bad I actually vomited from the smell. Also, have you ever smoked a cigarette and then blown the smoke through a napkin to see the tar? Well, that's what my pants looked like after farting for 10 hours straight. TLDR. Don't eat too many Fiber One bars. Just blew cigarette smoke through a napkin to try this. I think I'm gonna quit now. In middle school, I was on the track team. I used to avoid peeing in school for no other reason than inconvenience. Oh yeah, and a 2-inch pool of pee on every restroom floor. Anyways, one day at track practice I couldn't hold it, but I was at the starting line getting ready to run. Before I started running, the urine did. I pretended I was stretching and got really close to the ground. It didn't help much. I had pee all over my shorts. How no one found out I'll never know. They knew. I accidentally left an adult toy in the bathroom last night. Since I live alone, this is normally not a problem. Had unexpected guests today. One of them had to use the bathroom. Oh god, why? Oh my god, ouch. When I was much younger, around 7 or 8, I had the urge to pee very badly. At this time in my life, my family frequented the local community swimming pool and I had just passed the test to go into the deep end. I even got one of those sweet, stretchy anklets that signify my deep end baller status. Anyway, I really had to pee. Like really bad. Bad enough that I achieved a prepubescent pee erection. I ran as fast as I could towards the restrooms that were at the end of the pool, near the deep end. I made it to the urinal, but it was too tall for me and there were no kiddie ones. So I hopped onto my tippy toes and whipped it out, but since I was at full mast and angled slightly backwards, the stream went right into my frickin' eye. Like Balaam, a sure shot right to the iris. And I couldn't very well correct my trajectory due to the circumstances at hand, so I pulled my bathing suit back on, continued to pee my pants and ran straight into the deep end, opening and closing my eyes to get the pee out. You should have peed in the pool like everyone else. Alone in our home hot tub, high school years, the water jets felt fantastic spraying on my butthole, so I stood there for about 2 full minutes. It felt so dang great. When I got out, I went to take a dump, and I was very surprised to notice I had explosive diarrhea like never before. It just kept coming, and coming. Then I realized it was not diarrhea at all, it was water. I filled myself with hot tub water. I was so worried that I poisoned myself somehow, because I was filled with chlorinated water. I was afraid of the medical consequences, and having to explain to my loved ones what happened. Thankfully, I managed to empty out after a few minutes, and I felt fine. And that's when Swipe Johnson had his very first enema. I was the drum major of my college marching band. There were 2 of us, and I was junior, so I was assigned to conduct the band when they were facing backfield. We were hosting the state band competition. Biggest crowd of the year by far. All the kids from every school around. In rehearsal, I ran back across the field during a big crescendo as they were turning around, ran up the podium, and hit the downbeat just as they were hitting the big note at the top of the phrase. Pretty awesome. Except, it rained the night before the performance, and marching band shoes are flat-soled, no tread at all, and the uniform was all white. I started running, crossing the field, slipping just a little, and couldn't stop. Wiped out completely, slipped right into the metal podium, climbed up, finished the song, slumped to the ground, killed the applause as the crowd was wondering if I was dead. Which would have been better. Epilogue. The next morning, at the doctor's office, the nurse asked, "How did you get hurt?" I told her, "Slipped while running on wet grass." She says, "Oh, my god, you're the drum major for Hurt Derp State. TLDR. Wiped out at a marching band contest in front of a few thousand people." A couple of years ago I sat down to relieve myself. Little did I know that somehow, and don't ask me how because I just don't know, the tip of my dong was not aimed into the bowl. When I started to pee I literally got it all over my shorts. I had no idea what to do at that point. Yeah, been there, except I was sitting down about to juice drop and somehow perfectly aimed between the seat and the bowl and peed right through the crack. I went on a first date with a girl that I had been talking online to for a while. We decided to go to a movie together one weekend, so I met her at a theater an hour away. I let her pick whatever movie she wanted to see, so we saw Flicker, a stereotypical horse movie. You can probably guess the plot better than I can remember. Girl finds wild horse, loves it, tries to tame it, no one thinks she can, blah blah blah. We get inside and there is not a single other person in the theater. The movie is pretty bad and at one point this giant mountain lion jumps out of a tree and tries to eat Flicker himself. It just seemed so random to me that this mountain lion either wanted to eat this giant horse or at least just kill him because he hated it for some off-screen reason. Also it looked super cheesy, so I accidentally started laughing a little bit, and then the girl that I was with slowly turned towards me with a face of such disgust, such venom that I immediately stopped all giggling. I then realized that she had tears streaming down her face and at that moment said to me in that completely empty theater loudly, "How can you be laughing at a time like this?" I slowly turned my attention back to the movie, finished watching it, said goodnight, and drove back to school. I will never forget those words. I often repeat them back to myself in the varying ways that you can say these pretzels are making me thirsty. Everything about that night just seems so ridiculous now. It was like it was destiny. That movie was made entirely to have that ridiculous scene in it so me and this girl could be in this empty theater together so I could chuckle and she could deliver the perfect line of "How can you be laughing at a time like this?" I got on MARTA, Atlanta's attempt at public transit, wearing only a giant banana suit to go to a Halloween party, not realizing that black people in Atlanta do not dress up on Halloween, and 2 are apparently the only people who really ride MARTA. About 2 stops in, I start hearing a WW hail no, that in a banana shorty, hail no. It got worse and worse and by the time I reached my stop, I was trying to hide my shame as an entire car full of rowdy folks from the dirty South laughed openly at me. MARTA, moving African Americans rapidly through Atlanta. Having realized too late that I no longer possess the upper body strength nor small feet I had when I was a child, at 18 I tried to scale a chain link fence, making it halfway up before my arms gave out. Feet slipped and I was left hanging by my shirt and bra, T waving in the breeze, shirt pulled up over my face, hooked on the top of the fence. The kid walking by had the biggest eyes, mouth agape as he walked by, as I flailed, jumping, trying to free myself. Good times. For those who did not see this response, was hanging by bra in front of shirt, so up over my face, but I could see around. I didn't go in the shirt. That and the desperate flailing to get free, I was very aware of my surroundings. I ordered a pizza at 5 PM for it to arrive at 8 PM. The pizza arrived at 6 PM, and I was very surprised since I was wanting to delay it, but I happily ate it anyway. 8 PM came and another pizza guy turned up, and stupidly I told him I'd already had the delivery, so he left with a potential free pizza. As I closed the front door I realized what I'd done, but it was too late. I should mention that I had paid for my order online already. You will always remember the pizza that got away. Kind of like Arp's post, but for me the fly broke. Glued it and on the underside, placed a sewing pin vertically. It held, but you can imagine what happened when I sat down. It stabbed the foreskin. No permanent damage. I was one dumbass high school student. Sounds to me like you got a free Prince Albert. Back in elementary school we had silent reading. I had to fart quite badly and decided it would be a silent fart. Unfortunately, it was one of the highest squeakiest farts of my life. To this day some of my friends when they joke about me will just go yep. I made a mistake. One time, I think I was about 13 or 14, I came home from school and found the door locked, and I did not have the spare key. It was freaking cold. I live in NH and it was the middle of winter. So, I'm with my little bro and we talk it out. I decide the best thing to do is to run up the stairs leading to the front door and kick the freaking door in. It seemed reasonable. Then I walked back outside to inspect the damage from the front, and my brother points out a pair of boots on the front steps. The freaking key was in them. I then realized I had made a huge mistake. A while ago I was taking biotin supplements to strengthen my hair and nails. I had never taken them before and my mother warned me that the supplements had made her nauseous and she had to stop taking them. Well, I didn't listen. Let me just say that I took my mom's advice to heart when I started getting nauseous during my morning choir rehearsal. The girl in front of me was showered in love. A friend was introducing me to Guy, and the guy reached out his hand a little. Instinctively I reached out and shook his hand. As I did that, I heard my friend say "oh number" under his breath, and that's when I realized he didn't reach his hand out to shake mine. It was paralyzed that way. Well, that's awkward. Was freaking doggy style. Reached that moment of joy, and with incredible timing happened to pull out too far on the outward pump. Not realizing this quick enough, I thrust it forward again only to realize my dong was not inside her, but was actually point straight up, right at my face. Yes, you guessed it, I gave myself a facial. I think this story is hilarious though and have probably told it way more often than I should. I had an ex-boyfriend do this once. I thought it was cute. LOL. This happened in a pool hall bar back in 2000 or 1999. Somewhere around there. We were playing pool by the front door of the place. Me and my 3 friends were getting ready to leave and had settled up. While getting ready to go, my friend Tom and I noticed one of those first generation internet kiosks by the door where you pay $1 to have X minutes of surfing time. The previous user had left the machine with some time on it. Our pranking selves become motivated, and we decide to pull up goats on screen. We hit enter and start to run out the door. We were scared that a bartender or waitress would notice the goats and get us in trouble, so we were bolting out as quickly as possible. At this moment I noticed my friend's purse on the side table next to where we were playing pool. Crap, I thought. So being the good friend that I was, I ran over, grabbed her purse, and started bolting towards the door again. This other girl starts chasing me with a huge rage face. I start to run faster because I figured she was a waitress and wanted to get me in trouble for the goats. When I reach the front door she yells, "My purse. My purse," for anyone to help her get her purse back from me. I froze solid and realized immediately that I had made a huge mistake. I handed it back to her and yelled I wasn't stealing IT. I wasn't stealing IT, then quickly bolted out the door after my friends. Tiger, what happened? What took you so long? Just go. I accidentally stole a purse. Don't worry about it, just drive. I still kick myself for almost stealing that purse. Ripped the seam of my pants at work one evening while fixing cables. The seam ripped from the bottom of the zipper all the way back. Very obvious. I thought MacGyver could fix this, so I got a stapler and some tape. Stapled the seam, covered the staples with tape, and was on my way home. Somewhere between 7th Avenue in NYC and Queens while on the train. The tape came off. While I was walking, I first felt one pinch, then several. By the time I made it home I had snagged my ballsack so many times it was bleeding. Will never do that again. And I'll never accidentally put Bengay on my balls either. Near the start of my junior year in high school, I signed up to join the Marines after graduating. I signed the papers, picked a job, swore the oath, and took the physical. The date all this happened, the 1st of September, 2001. Man, was I in for a surprise. We were mixing concrete in a portable mixer because we were making a ramp for our disabled neighbor. Ramp created. Everything was good, except that we had way too much leftover concrete. Somehow we made about 10 times as much as we needed. We filled the mixer with water to dilute the concrete, and then poured it into a ditch in her yard. It completely overflowed, flowing down her driveway, down the suburban streets, into drain pipes, onto the tires of cars parked on the curb, and eventually into the person at the bottom of the hill's front yard. There was nothing we could do but watch it all flow. All in all, we basically cemented 4 cars in place and created a new patio for some guy, and the evidence all pointed to our disabled neighbor's house. One time, I was driving to this water park in Tennessee called Dollywood Splash Country. Anyway, it was about a 2-hour drive. Halfway there, I can feel my stomach starting to grumble. And not the hungry grumble, the your butt is about to explode grumble. Well, it wasn't so bad at first, so I made the decision that I would hold it until I got there. Unfortunately, I forgot to take into account how long you have to wait in line before you can get into the dang park and reach a bathroom. So when we finally made it to the place, I found myself at one point sitting on top of this tiny pole that was part of the queue line. I literally thought I was going to crap in my pants and all over the ground. So finally, we got through the line and made it into the park. I immediately spotted a bathroom from a long ways away, began waddling to it. I say waddle, because walking normally at this point was impossible. So I made the humiliating waddle to the bathroom and went inside. And then I discovered that in fact there were no toilets in this bathroom. It was only a shower room. I looked from the doorway to find another bathroom. There were none in sight. So I took a dump in the shower, and I am sincerely sorry to anyone on here who cleans the shower room at Dollywood Splash Country. Seeing that Wired Mag's top internet sites was provided by reddit.com. What's Reddit? I'll just type this in my browser and... You poor soul. The first time I changed oil on my motorcycle, I drained the transmission oil pan and not the bigger engine oil pan. I noticed that I only drained a little oil, but I figured that I was just running low on it. Next day my motorcycle starts pushing out the excess oil out and I ruin the pair of pants I'm wearing. But it doesn't stop there. I start draining the oil the right way this time, but the container I'm using is made to hold only 5 quarts and there are 7+ quarts in my bike. The excess oil makes a mess of my garage and I had to spend a good hour cleaning it up and buying cat litter to cover it. I left the cat litter overnight and stray cats did their business on it. Motorcycle is a 09 Yamaha V-Star 950. First year the model is fuel injected and took the place of the old 1100 model that was carb. If you had an 1100, you know what a pain in the butt it was to change the oil, as you had to remove the exhaust pipes to get to the filter. From the owner's manual, 3.70L, 3.91 US quarts of oil without replacing the oil filter, and 4.00L, 4.23 US quarts, if oil filter is replaced. I made the huge mistake of not wiping my butt well enough. I needed toilet paper one night. I had been yelling for my dad to get me some, but to no avail as he was upstairs in his room. As I was screaming, I didn't know my aunt walked through the back door of my house as I screamed for some. She had asked if I needed something. Me being young, I guess, and incredibly embarrassed, I replied, "Nope, I'm fine." I ended up wiping my butt with nothing more than a square of TP. I went to bed and the next morning had to go work out with a trainer for an hour. I felt good for the first 5 minutes of walking on the treadmill until it happened. I started sniffing and smelling this stench in the air around me. You know how you're adjusted to the smells of your farts? This was not like that. This poop-like stench followed me everywhere. I thought it was the gym. It wasn't till we did some squats when I realized every time I dipped this poop stench was coming from my anus. I was so embarrassed for so long. I tried standing under the huge fan at the gym to try and waft the smell out of my butt, very conservatively, though. To this day I still wonder why I never just went to the bathroom and wiped my butt. I felt so bad for my trainer and everyone at the gym who had to withstand my butt smell for that hour. After I was done with my session, he asked, "Did you wear deodorant today?" Me, accepting the fact that everyone knew I had smelled up the place with Asholina stench, replied, "Nope, Bryson, that's my butt." I tried standing under the huge fan at the gym to try and waft the smell out of my butt. I imagine this created a tornado of stink. Great stuff. While I was gunning for what I think was my second convoy security mission in Iraq, when my SGT told me to shoot a flare over a bridge we were rapidly approaching. And so I prepped a white flare when suddenly my driver decides to pull out of the convoy and drive along the side of one of the supply vehicles. so I set the flare aside and turned the turret to keep my weapon pointed away from the convoy. The flare proceeded to roll right into the gun truck and explode, forcing me, my driver, and my TC to bail while the truck was still rolling. I watched as the flare set off all our ammunition, melt our weapons, gear, and the truck itself as I thought to myself, I made a huge mistake. Didn't happen to me, but a friend of mine was on her period and decided to wear a white bikini. She thought that a tampon would secure her flow, but it didn't. Being a good friend, I told her she should probably check herself. She was embarrassed beyond belief. But alas, for it was too late. She had already wrecked herself. I was totally in love with my best friend's brother when I was 16. One night he came to my room and wanted to frick. I really wanted to, but it was Shark Week, so I told him no. I never told him how I actually felt about him, and we just stayed friends. They moved away a few months later and he died in a car accident about a month after that. Nearly 30 years later, and I still wonder what it would have been like if I had admitted my feelings. Read Shark Week. Oh, Discover Channel. Got it. Read nearly 30 years later. Wait, Shark Week didn't exist back then. Got it. I ate an entire clove of raw garlic. It went like this. Before biting, no regrets. Immediately after biting, IT burns. 10 seconds later, no regrets. And on until it was all gone. And then my stomach screamed at me for a few hours. No regrets. Yes, I meant a head, not a clove. I assume. I ate a whole garlic. Whatever. I hope by clove you mean head. Otherwise this is a big mess. Decided to get spray tan and HS before heading to the beach. Just got done with 2-hour lacrosse practice. Kinda had to pee. Decide frick it, I'll wait till it's over. Well, if you've never done spray tan, it's a cold blast of freaking crap hitting you in the face and all your body and you have to stand with your legs slightly apart. It hits me. Oh my god, I'm going to pee myself. So naturally I do. In the spray tan booth. Try to play it off praying that crap isn't recycled. Hopefully they won't notice. Run out of there. We got away with it. Wake up the next morning for our flight and every part of my body is tan except a nice, white, long thick streak going down both my inner thighs to my ankles. My pee had wiped out the spray tan, so I went to Puerto Rico like that for a week. My mother still loves to tell the story at gatherings. Dang that woman. I was 9 years old. After school one day a bunch of us were playing baseball at a neighbor's house. The game was wrapping and I had to take a crap. I tried to stop the game so I could relieve myself but my neighbor wouldn't allow it. He was a few years older than me and loved bossing me around. The game continues for another 20 minutes or so. At this point I was extremely uncomfortable, turtle head peeking out of the shell uncomfortable. The game finally ends. I make my way into his house, proceed to the bathroom, and pull down my pants. Sadly, I didn't make it to the toilet. I expelled a steaming pile of rancid dark matter directly onto the floor in front of the toilet. Instead of telling my friend's mother what I did, I thought I could clean it up. Not a good decision. I ended up making more of a mess than my initial mess. I vaguely remember brown streaks on the floor. I ended up leaving the bathroom and going back outside as if nothing happened. A little while later we all heard a loud shriek coming from inside the house. I'll never forget the feeling of dread I felt at that moment for the rest of my life. When he said that he only felt that making love is only meaningful if it's missionary. Oh, he always wanted it to be making love. Boy do I know his female counterpart. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.